Welcome to the Raise Your Bars podcast, where it's all about elevating your life one step at a time. With your hosts, Chris Baker and Al Rattan. Together, we're here to guide you through the transformative journey of self-improvement and success. Have you ever wondered what behaviors and actions you need to change to achieve the results and success you desire in life? Well, you're in the right place. Each episode, we dive deep into the strategies, mindset shifts, and practical steps you can take to raise your bars. From personal development to professional growth, Chris and Al share their expertise, experiences, and the occasional tough love, all designed to empower you to reach your full potential. So, whether you're looking to make a big change or simply fine-tune your path to success, grab a seat and let's raise those bars together. Now, let's welcome your hosts, Chris Baker and Al Rattan.
Well, good evening there, my friend Chris. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I had a golf weekend last weekend, so I'm recovering from that. But it was fun. So.
From a golf weekend. Oh my. Well, here we are. We're recording another episode of our Raise Your Bars podcast, and we're back to, I guess, part 4 in the series on the top 10 reasons people fail and sort of how to avoid them. And this is actually from John Maxwell's book, Failing Forward. And if you haven't heard part 1, 2, and 3, you should go back and listen. Part 1 was on poor people skills. Part 2 was on a negative attitude. Part 3 was on a bad fit. And then we took a break for a moment because Chris was on his weekend away, and we released a podcast where I had a guest on, Ezekiel Terrell, who is the president of the Maxwell Leadership French team, actually, and lives in Paris in France there. And Chris, I don't know if you had a chance, you said you hadn't had a chance to listen to it yet, but he's also licensing the Grant Cardone 10X program in France now. He's the master licensee for that in France. And it's pretty exciting. He's got some really great things going on. And so he gave some really great advice for entrepreneurs and some of his, struggles and growth. Yeah. And it's really good. But we're back to our series tonight. And this one, part 4, is on a lack of focus. Lack of focus.
You know all about that being an I.
Yeah. That's not nice. Remember, we don't label or pigeonhole people in this model of human behavior training.
I'm not labeling pigeonholing. I'm just saying how it is.
Yeah. Yes, I do at times lack focus, and I do tend to leave things to the last minute, and I do tend to work better under pressure when the deadline is looming.
Yeah.
Even though that does stress me out a little bit, I seem to perform my best at that point in time.
So
but lack of focus, I think, affects a lot of people.
I was just going to say, I think it's a widespread problem. And why do you think that is? Why do you think there is tends to be a lack of focus?
Why do I think? I think it's the amount of sensory inundation of so many different things going on in the world. I think my biggest thing, honestly, and while I was waiting for you to pop on, and I told you about that, I was scrolling through reels on Facebook instead of doing anything productive at all. And I find myself doing that. I'll come and sit down in my office with a project at hand that I need to work on. And I find myself, next thing I know, I'm on Facebook's scrolling through videos and laughing and finding funny memes and sending them to friends. And then all of a sudden I realize, okay, wait a minute, I got to put this down and I got to get focused. And I think it really is that inundation of all of these things that are demanding our attention these days, and our inability, and my inability, to actually set them aside and focus on what needs to be done.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because in the emerging leaders class that I've been teaching at Disney, and it's just their graduation was today, and part of that is they, in groups of 2 or 3, they do a presentation on what are some of the things that they've learned from the class that they've been able to use, or what advice would they give someone else coming into the program, etc. They can choose the topic from a choice of 6 and then do their presentation. And it was interesting because there was 10 groups, and I would say that at least half at least half of those groups, probably 6 or 7 of those groups, mentioned DISC as being a valuable part of the class and the DISC assessment and how that's helped with communication.
Right.
And about half as well also mentioned the priority quadrant that I use, which is all about prioritizing and scheduling.
Yeah, very good.
And they really were saying how, before they'd say, oh, they didn't have enough time, or things would keep getting put off. And when they actually stopped and looked at it and listed all their tasks and put them into the priority quadrant of whether it was high priority, low priority, whether it was truly things that only they can do or could anyone else do it, they then started to realize that they were doing things that they didn't necessarily need to do and putting off some of the things that they should have done. And then, they were able to schedule tasks and actually block time for tasks and get more done.
Yeah.
And so, I'm a big believer in the fact that Tony Robbins says, where your focus goes, your energy flows, right?
Absolutely.
And so if people are always telling me, and they seem to think it's a great thing by saying, oh, I'm a great multitasker. And I say, you can't be. And they say, yeah, I am. And so you can't. You can only do one thing at a time. Even these computers that we're talking on now and are running different programs, but at each microsecond, it's one thing that they're doing. Right.
Yeah.
And so if we can learn to prioritize and schedule and then block time and focus on that task at that time, we will get more done. Right. As long as we stick to the blocks of time that we're done.
Exactly.
Now, in your example, if you enjoy looking at reels of Facebook, there's nothing wrong with that. Schedule some time to do it.
Exactly.
And put like 15 minutes on your calendar and say, hey, this 15 minutes, I'm going to have like mindless fun and entertainment scrolling through those.
Right.
But at the end of the 15 minutes, you put your phone down, you get on with the next task, right?
Yeah. Well, we actually teach that in our time mastery course with the Pomodoro method, right? Like setting aside the 20-minute blocks to focus on what you need to be done, and then reward yourself with 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Once that's done. It's actually kind of funny because you talked about the priority matrix and is it something that I need to do, or is it something that somebody else can do? And I talked about this with Ezekiel on the podcast when you were away. And I said, two of the best things I ever did in my business was A, to hire a bookkeeper, and B, to hire a virtual assistant.
Yep.
And so I can just send it off. You take care of this. You do this, because it was consuming me with the pressure to make sure that my books were up to date. It was consuming me with the pressure to make sure I had content to put out on social media, to make sure that the worksheets are ready, the PowerPoint slides are ready, all this other stuff. And I was spending so much time on that, I couldn't focus on other things in my life.
Right.
Other things in our business, right? So, Nicole's been invaluable to us as our virtual assistant, just getting all of this stuff ready, especially when we were working last year with that national company and doing bi-weekly trainings or weekly trainings with them. So, it was a lot for me to let it go, but it was also one of the best things I did by letting it go.
Yeah. So I think if people, and again, if you take it to a deeper level, right, it's really understanding, again, we'll go back to our purpose. What's our purpose? What's our why, right? What do we truly believe in? What are our values? And when people identify those, then I think it helps you to be focused.
Yeah.
Right. It helps you to realize that okay, I need to do this task rather than this task, because this is taking me towards my goal and my objective. And again, if you've got goals, then you're going to be focused. And again, the class talked a lot about SMART goals and how they've been able to put those into their personal and professional life, and they're already getting results from it. So it's really, focus to me comes down to being intentional about what it is that you're doing and why you're doing it and what's important to you.
Yeah.
And then maybe that sounds a bit simplistic, but it really is. Right?
I think the thing is I think far too often we overcomplicate everything, right? So I think making it in simplistic terms is the best way to get it across. Even in the beginning of this section of this book, John says the first line in this section is, bad things happen when a person doesn't focus.
Right.
We're being pulled off task. We're focused on the right priorities. Things are getting out of hand in one area of our organization because we're focusing on another area of the organization. I know with me in the past, as a general manager of a big box retail store, I needed to not bury myself, focus solely on one area of the store or one task throughout the day. Because if I did, there was 60,000 square feet and 79 other staff members that were working on other things that I had no idea what was going on in.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very intentional for me to always jump in, help out where needed, focus on a task, 15-20 minutes, jump away, do a tour around the store, make sure everybody else was on task, getting done what needed to be done, and then jumping back into the task at hand or helping somebody else out with their task for a little bit, get the team going, get them refocused, get them heading in the right direction, step away, do a tour, and make sure everything else was going on properly in the store. And I think a lot of times we get buried, head down, blinders on, right?
Yeah.
And then there's fires everywhere else, but hey, okay, we're doing good because I got this going. Yes, but the rest of the building's on fire, right? Because we aren't focusing, and that's when those bad things happen.
Yeah, that head in the sand never works, really.
No, for sure not.
No. What else does John say in the chapter now?
Well, it says here, but people lacking focus have trouble not because they're too busy, which a lot of us will say, oh, I'm so busy, but because their priorities are out of whack.
That's true.
Your priority matrix, right? Our priorities are out of whack. We're focusing on the wrong things again.
Right. Yeah, and it's easy to, procrastination is putting off something you could do today, putting it off till tomorrow, right? And when you look at to-do lists, a lot of people run by to-do lists, and the things that don't get done on the to-do list are generally the things you don't like doing.
Yeah, in most cases,
you don't enjoy doing, you're not good at doing, or whatever, and so we put it off generally. So they would be the things that I would look and say, well, can anyone else do these? Right? Or you flip the switch and you do those first. Focus on them, get them knocked off so you can get on with the stuff that you enjoy doing.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Well, somebody way back in my early career, like I was 20, 21 years old in the management training program for a big box store that was in Canada. Now they no longer exist, but I'm just saying, he told me, delegate everything possible. If you want to be an effective manager, you need to delegate everything possible. And that's not delegating, the crap jobs, just because you don't want to do them.
No.
Delegating out to the rest of the team, empowering them to take on the responsibility to get some of the tasks done. So I could take a step back and make sure all the parts are moving. You have to take that step back and look at the chessboard to make sure all the parts are moving in the right direction versus focusing in on that one white square or that one black square.
Yeah, I think again there's multiple facets to this, really, right? Because the things you like doing, there's things you need to do, the things you want to do, right? But also some of the things that you may like to do, if you don't need to do them, somebody else could do them to elevate their performance, right? And give them the responsibility. Or there's also some of the tasks that you don't like doing that you feel you have to do, but again, if you gave them, somebody else may enjoy doing that, right? And then they're probably going to do it better and do it quicker than you because they like doing it. It's in their comfort zone, right? And in their strength zone.
Right.
So I really think that it needs a lot of work and effort to go through this, right? And once you've done it, you've got a blueprint, right? Yes, some things will come up that you may need to change or add to it or whatever. But it will help you to focus, and it will help to create time on your calendar for sure.
Well, and that's the thing too, because after John talks about our priorities being out of whack, if we're not too busy, it's because our priorities are out of whack. The next line says, and that wastes their time and resources, right? So Think of the resources that are being wasted in a company on a daily basis because we're not focused in on the
Right.
task that needs to happen. Now, I know you can't be productive 100% of your day. It's not possible. We're human beings. We
No.
need the social interaction.
Hmm.
We need that. However, how many resources are being wasted? And I know we've quoted this before, but we read somewhere, and it was somewhere in the 80th percentile or something like that of people that said that they could be more productive at work.
It was.
So
Yeah.
80% of your team could be more productive at work,
Yeah.
and you're busy focusing all your attention over here while the 80% are over here not being productive 80% of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And
What
you're probably not really focusing your attention over there. You're just looking at all the stuff that you've got to do over there, right? Which means your mind's going around and you're not really getting anything done.
Right.
Or minimal things. And again, if you look at like meetings is another prime example, right? Where I think focus is needed.
Mhm.
Because how much time is wasted in meetings? How many 1 hour meetings could really be like a 15 to 30-minute meeting
Or an email.
or an email, right?
Right.
And do they need to involve all of the people that are in those meetings? And you look at it and start adding up all of those minutes and hours
Mhm.
per person per week. There's a ton of wasted time there because it's not focused,
Exactly.
right? So, focus is really, really, really important. And
I think one of the reasons, and John talks about this. I mean, well, we teach a lesson on productive meetings in your company, and one of the
yeah,
things is having the agenda created in advance and out to people
right,
in advance, so they can actually form their thoughts around it. And if there's anything else they need to add to the agenda, so you can actually schedule it effectively. And
right.
then he talks about a lot about in meetings using the parking lot, right? So, hey, this is not on our agenda today. It's a great topic. We don't have time for this today. We're going to put that in the parking lot, and we're going to put it on the next agenda, unless it's an urgent matter that needs to be addressed today. And it may not even be something that everybody around the table needs to be a part of. Okay, that's something that you and I can talk about after the meeting. Let's get together and spend a few minutes talking about that.
Exactly. Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's got to be billions of dollars a year in wasted productivity in companies, just simply because
easily.
we're lacking the focus we need
Yeah.
to get the task at hand done in that timely manner and efficiently.
Yeah.
And with excellence, right? You always
Right.
say, we're never going to achieve perfection, but we can always strive for excellence.
Strive for excellence, right? Yeah. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we need to examine our focus, folks. What is our focus? Because we cannot move forward without examining our focus. And again, we're talking about the top 10 reasons people fail.
Mm-hmm.
Lack of focus could be the downfall of your career path, of your organization, of your team. And without it, you can't move forward.
No. And I think, we're a prime example as well with Raise Your Bars, if we're honest about it, right? Because we started with the, Raise Your Bars, basically saying it was for anybody that really wanted to grow, right? And so we'd offer a free programs or whatever. Then we said, well, let's do a Raise Your Bars legacy creators for men over 40, because again, we can relate to them, we can do that. So, and then we could do a program for there.
Right.
And then we got the Raise Your Bars profit accelerator for businesses and so on. And so, but we would then start looking and say, oh, we can do all these different programs. The trouble is we're not focused.
Right.
So yes, we do the podcasting. Yes, we talk about personal growth and development, and the Facebook group, we've got that, but we're not offering any programs for individuals.
No.
And occasionally, you'll come up and say, hey, we could do this mastermind group. I said, but it's taking our attention away from what we want to do.
Yeah, you're right.
So we'll talk about it in the podcast. Yeah. But we'll talk about it in the podcast. But anything that is a program related is really focused now on the profit accelerator, the business building.
Everything's focused on that. Everything's going into it. Yeah.
And I think that makes us better. It makes our podcast better because we can talk about all these things. And we're never trying to sell anyone anything because we haven't got anything to sell.
And honestly,
this is a free service.
Exactly. And all of the stuff we are talking about on these reasons people fail too, affect your bottom line profit in your business and your organization. If you're not focused, guess what? It doesn't take long for your margin to disintegrate.
Yeah.
your expenses to skyrocket. Next thing you know, you're in the red instead of in the
Mhm.
black at the end of 2024. And we don't want that for any of our clients and our listeners.
No.
So, Chris, challenge this week for our listeners: focus on your focus.
Yeah, I think get focused really. I think it's really again, and I think we've set this challenge or a similar challenge before, but it's really identifying what's important to you. What do you want to achieve, right? Why is it important to achieve that?
Mm-hmm.
And then start looking at what do you do on a daily, weekly basis, all right, in total,
Yeah.
and what are you doing to actually move towards that objective? And that will help you identify some of the things that you're doing that are really not leading towards that objective. And when you look at it, are they leading towards any objective? Do you need to be doing it, or do you need to eliminate it from your your life,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Or limit it down, right? So when you look at some of the things that you may be doing that are taking up a lot of your time, but they're not actually productive towards what it is you want to achieve, we're not saying cut it out completely. We just say maybe you scale it back a little bit and you allocate time to do that. So I think the challenge is really to do that self-examination and start looking at what do you do, what do you want to achieve, and what are you doing to achieve those things, and what are you doing that is taking it down a cul-de-sac that you can limit or eliminate from your life.
Perfect. Perfect. And if you are a business owner and you are struggling in that profit area of your business or with your team engagement or culture within your organization, then our
Mhm.
Raise Your Bars program may be for you. And you can reach us anytime on social media, or you can go to www.raiseyourbars.com. And of course, you can email al@raiseyourbars.com or chris@raiseyourbars.com. And we'd love to jump on a discovery call with you and see if we are a good fit to work together and help you increase your bottom line profit in 2024, recession or no recession, and of course, beyond that. So thanks for tuning in. If you found value in this, please share it with a friend, family member, coworker, and we'll see you next week.
Bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to the Raise Your Bars podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please consider sharing it with your family, friends, and coworkers. We would sincerely appreciate it.